aka vegan meatballs with beets. Well, I'm Morgan, I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm all about plant-based foods, and today that's exactly what we're going to dive into. So these meatballs are going to be fantastic with any kind of red sauce, in a wrap, and like you could even do like a open face like meatball sub situation. They're also really great just kind of like on the side with like a grain bowl or with a veggie bowl. So super versatile because there's lots of recipes for meatballs out there. I keep mine pretty like standard, meaning that the flavors are super versatile. So if that's something that you're into, then by all means. If you're adding in like in an Italian type of dish, you can certainly add some Italian seasoning, some fennel, which I do sometimes. It kind of depends on my mood at the moment. And then the other thing that I want to say too is that if you're going to do the meatballs, aka Beetballs, in like with a red sauce, don't cook them in the sauce. You're going to want to actually bake them separately and then add them when they're done because they're just going to be more likely to fall apart. So I already have in my bowl, because I was actually going to just start, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make a video. You guys might be interested in this. So I have in here a half a cup of finely chopped walnuts. And so I have a manual food processor back there. That's what I used. And then I also have in 1 package of beets. And when I say 1 package, I'm talking about, I use the Love beets that are already made, honestly, because it just saves a heck of a lot of time. And they're really, really soft. So again, in the manual food processor, I can get these tiny little chunks that is going to be perfect for the beet balls versus like having, you know, big chunks that are just hard to work with and don't mesh together very well. So half a cup of the finely chopped walnuts. That just helps give it a little crunch. If you don't like walnuts, don't want nuts in it, by all means you can omit that. And then 1 package of the Love beets, just the cooked beets. If you want to steam your own, it was like 6 small beets in here, so 6 small, or probably like the equivalent of 1.5 big. It's not a whole lot. It looks like a lot more though once you chop it up. And then 1 can of lentils. So again, I am all about time saving. If you don't have lentils, you can, or canned lentils available, I got these at Walmart, but you can always make lentils. They take about 20 minutes to make. And if you make them, you're going to want to have a yield of about 1.5 cups. So if you make more than that, then you can just leave them, or just have them for leftovers, for lunches, or a different dinner, something like that. So we have the lentils and the beets so far. As I'm stirring here, I'm actually kind of smashing a bit too. And that's just going to kind of help gel everything together once we get all the ingredients in. Then we're going to add so this is 1 onion that I've already sauteed. You can do it raw. I just think it's already better if it has some flavor to it. And then 2, that helps kind of lock in some liquid and get everything a little more mushy together. So 1 finely chopped onion, and then also 4 cloves of garlic. And again, you can kind of adjust the garlic an onion, depending on how much you like. Some recipes will also call for brown rice, but I tend to skip the brown rice and just add in a bit more lentils. And then again, mixing all of this together. So it already smells delicious, and we've not even added any seasoning. Okay, so we have this, and then we're going to add in a couple tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and I don't really measure, but you can always add more or less. This is going to kind of act as a binder, like a flour type of thing would as well. And then we have flaxseed, which is a nice little container here. And same thing, I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of that. And that is really going to be what acts as the main glue. Now, I'm stirring it up a little bit first, but it does need some liquid to stick together. Depending on how liquidy though the beets are and the lentils, I've drained the can out, just so you know. But that kind of determines how much liquid you're going to need. So it's about 1/2 cup, but you may need a little more depending on kind of what's going on here. And so I use, the only kind of like seasoning flavor that I'm going to use today is actually a vegetable bouillon. And so the vegetable bouillon is for 2 cups of fluid, of water. So I'm going to do it in 1 cup. And I've already kind of measured that out. And so we might need, again, the whole thing, might not need it, and can put it into something else. So it's already getting a little stickier, which is fantastic. Now, I will say, so once I get all this going, I actually, from there, I'm going to refrigerate it for about 1/2 hour to an hour, you know, or longer if you want. And that's going to help it all stick together and form together. So then when you have, I have like a scoop, and that way when you scoop out, it's going to be a nice formed ball versus like a crumbly mess that's going to not be so good. It's definitely looking pretty good. Actually, so I do have 8 ounces in here. I'm going to pour out a little more and make it more like 4 ounces. Just because looking at my step again, I think 4 ounces is more doable. So you always got to kind of cook in the moment, I think, is probably one of the best ways to learn cooking, and it does take practice. But so for example, if you've ever made meatballs before, or even if you've made veggie burgers before, you want it to kind of stick together. Mine's pretty much doing that already, so that just tells me that I'm not going to want to add a lot of liquid. If I did add more liquid, then I would have to add like panko breadcrumbs or some flour, or more nutritional yeast, something to kind of act as that flour, that binder from there. So once our broth is done, I'm going to pour it in, and then again I'm going to let it sit in the fridge for a 1/2 hour. I'm going to take it out. So I have a few different sizes of scoops that I like to use. I use the smaller one if I want smaller Beetballs, or the big one if I want bigger Beetballs. I will say that they'll stay together better if they're going to be kind of on that smaller side, so I kind of just do a heaping one of the small most of the time. Or you can do big. If you don't have that, you can just kind of form it with your hands. Be prepared to get dirty. And that's again after it sits in the fridge for a 1/2 hour. And then after that, perfect. Nice and hot. And then after that, you're going to bake it in the oven. So you're going to bake it at 350 for about a 1/2 hour. And that is where I'll meet up with you guys and show you what we're working with. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so this has been sitting in the fridge for a 1/2 hour, and I just gave it a stir. And now you can see that I'm scooping it out, and then with this nice little release, just putting it on the pan. Just to kind of give you a visual. So this is the Beetball in the bigger scoop, which is, I believe it's a 3-ounce scoop, and this is a 2-ounce scoop. And I'll show you what the difference is. So again, it just kind of depends on like what size you like. Sometimes, depending on what I'm using it for, like a little bit of both. But either one is perfectly fine. I'm actually feeling more of like the big ones today for some reason. So we're gonna scoop those out. The scoop is super duper nice, mostly because then you don't have to touch it, and your hands don't have to get all nasty and like sticky and all that stuff, which is fine, but sometimes you just don't want that, right? Okay, so I definitely don't have enough room on my pan here. do another one. But these will also freeze, so if you bake them off and then freeze them individually, they'll freeze for about a month. But you do want to make sure if you're freezing them that you compact them really, really well, because the water will get in there and then they're not going to freeze quite as great. So we have one tray here. Again, the big beet bowls. So I'd probably eat like 2 or 3 of these with, again, grain bowl or something along those lines. Spaghetti squash, which I'll put a link down below how to work with spaghetti squash if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, these are good to go, except for you could eat it just like this, but then be mushy. And it's kind of nice to get that baked crunch. They're going to look pretty much the same when they come on out. The only difference is getting this hold together a whole lot better. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another video. Be sure to like and subscribe to never miss one. Not to catch one, to never miss one. See you soon. Keep it kind.